Hello everyone, welcome to Cloud Pathshala. This is Anil signing in. I know it took a lot of time for us to roll out the videos to you. The last one was covered by Mobin. So we thought to cover up something more today. Yes, it is going to be the ESX Top. I'm going to sign into my Cloud Pathshala and I'm going to tell you about the ESX Top and the different switches that we're going to use. Stay tuned. Welcome back everyone. So as I indicated that this session is for ESXTOP exclusively, where I'm going to talk about disk and the LUN parameters that you can always check in the ESXTOP. So let's go ahead and see it. So I want to tell you before we move on to the practical session, what is ESXTOP? ESXTOP, which is one of the advanced tools that you can use. It's a command line tool, very friendly, very detailed, and the unique selling point, USP for this ESXTOP is the real-time output. When you run it, when you execute it, you see the real-time output of the commands that you execute. So having said that, let's go ahead and learn about the ESXTOP. As you can see in this slide, it is something which I have prepared to tell you about how VMware Administrator can take a lot of benefits running this tool. It is used for the troubleshooting and the deep analysis which you want to do it while troubleshooting the disk related issues or CPU related issues or the memory related issues. So to execute the the ESXTOP, you must need to log in as a root credential. You can do it over the DC UI or you can do over a direct PuTTY, but yes, it has to have a shell rights, shell permissions, and the root access. So when you want to run it, you want to just type the ESXTOP and then press enter. So once you press enter, it's going to bring up a chart where you will see memory, CPU, and the different counters. So that's how it is showing up in the slide over here. The switches that you can use are C for CPU, N for network, M for memory, I for your interrupts, V for virtual disk, D for disk, U for LUNs, P for your power, X is for vSAN. So those are the switches that you can use to see the performance data. To do the analysis of this performance data, it is an art. You certainly want to go ahead and see all those outputs when you execute these commands. So let's move on to the next one here. In this session, we'll be covering up disk adapter, which is D. U is for disk devices. Those are called LUNs. That's what we're going to cover up. V, which is for the disk VM, we'll cover up in the next session. So let's move on. So guys, I want to show up here the the ESXTOP matrix overview. If you see, these are the counters that we're going to talk about when you press D for disk on the ESXTOP, which is a command line tool. So we'll be talking about DAVG, KAVG, GAVG. Those are the few components that we're going to talk about. So these are a few things, CPU, memory, disk, network, which we will be doing a deep dive. However, let's talk about the disk here now. So guys, these are a few, components that we can always go ahead and see the output, real-time output, CPU performance, memory performance, disk performance, and network performance. So as in VMware Administrator, guys, when you do the day in, day out tasks, you have this responsibility on shoulder to ensure that your virtualization layer is delivering the best throughput. It's delivering the required IOPS. It's not, overutilized. It's not underutilized. Guys, this is the first counter which I was telling you about, DAVG. Disk latency most likely to be caused by an array. That's where it shows up. If you have DAVG going beyond 20 to 25, that is the moment you certainly want to go ahead and dig in. It is certainly the performance bottleneck. So make sure that when you look at the disk average per command, You want to go ahead and see if it is going beyond 20 or 25. That's what the threshold value mentioned over here.
So Anil, that also depends on the array type what we have. Like if we have flash storage, that can be less than 20 and 25 ms also. This is just from my side.
Yes, very good. Thanks, Pranay. So guys, high latency issues, you're going to look at the DAVG. That's something, you know, the commands, the VM kernel commands, which has been passed on to the array, but array is not processing those requests at the same time. So it creates the bottleneck. The commands which were sent to the array, but not being processed on time, there's a delay of 20 to 25 milliseconds. That is the latency you want to check when this value is high. KAVG, I want to ask Pranay to dig in and then tell me what is about the KAVG.
Oh well, so KAVG is actual, like it's a kernel average. So let's take example. You are doing some kind of a storage vMotion, and that's going through like you have a hypervisor, ESXi host, and you have a storage. You migrated one virtual machine from one storage to another data store, right? Yes. So that's going through the hypervisor over the kernel. So in case that there is a high latency on a kernel, so that shows as a KAVG, that's a kernel average.
Yes, great. Thank you, Pranay. So guys, I want to tell you a little more details about it. Kernel average is the commands, you know, which were sent through the VM kernel. Those are the commands. Say it has the set of commands like write or read, you know, process, those kind of commands which we send to the array, and those we have the plugins at the array level and the ESXi level, which plugins, you know, understand the commands which are being processed or sent through the VM kernel. So these are those commands, the commands which were sent through the VM kernel, but they are queued up, you know. So if there is high queuing of the ESXi kernel commands, then it is something that you want to deal with the ESXi layer, not at the storage end. Because if you want to fix something on the storage end, you're going to look at the disk average. If you want to fix something on the VM kernel level, you want to look at the K average, which is the kernel average. So it has to be less than 2. That is the threshold value. Let's move on to the next one. So Q average, Q latency, it is the part of the K average. If the Q average is high, you want to do the investigation and examine the queue depth at each level of the storage stack. So guys, as you know, there are some arrays which are fully capable to increase or decrease the queue depth value.
Yeah, that's correct.
You do it, you know, every array, every HBA which is installed on your ESXi comes with its own firmware. You can boot through ESXi. You can boot into the firmware of the HBA, which is the physical, and you can tweak the queue depth. Dell recommends the queue depth value to be set for the ESXi platforms. They have their own queue depth value. Same way, you know, EMC, Emulex, they even suggest you the same. So that is the queue average, guys. You need to be very sure. By default, it is set already as per the hardware manufacturer recommended, but you can always tweak it. So you want to check that Q average value when you're dealing with the queue depth setting on the firmware of the HBA. So guys, I'll move on to the G average now. G average is nothing but it is the combination of K average and DAVG as it shows up right here. And it is the average guest operating system latency, as you can see in this on the screen. So if you see DAVG, it is, you know, residing at the physical layer, residing to show the output of the storage layer. But Q average and K average, they are part of your ESXi. And the switches here, you know, D for this indicates that, look, this arrow shows up VM kernel vSCSI, and this arrow shows for ESXi storage stack. So IOPS, yes, those are something, you know, which deals between the application and the OS layer. So GAVG is DAVG plus K average. That gives you the GAVG value. So I'll move on to the commands per second. This is the total amount of commands per second, which includes IOPS and the other SCSI commands. So like I said, I told you, right, your VM kernel sends a lot of SCSI commands. And if you go to the VM kernel.log, you can see the commands. Earlier days, 3.5 or 4, it was not that user-friendly, not readable. But now onwards, since the grub and the shell has been customized and more enhanced, you can always see those commands. What are the commands being offered to the storage array? And let's move on to the reads per second. Number of read commands executed per second. That's pretty much straight through, as the name implies. And so the writes per second. Number of write commands issued per second. MB reads per second, you know, which shows up the value of data being processed. Then MB write per second. Those are the size of the write commands which are being processed per second. So as you can see on the screen, I have just taken the PuTTY session to my lab ESXi host. It is, you know, right on the prompt that, as you can see, it is the root access. So I'm going to go ahead and type ESXTOP and I'm going to hit enter. So guys, this is the first, you know, screen that you see. All the parameters are over here about the VMs, you know, the memory and all kind of stuff. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do the deep dive later on to the later sessions. For now, let's go ahead and press D. It shows the you know, the different parameters that I was telling you. Commands per second, reads per second, writes per second, MB read, which is the data, MB write, which is the data which is being written, and then DAVG per command, and KAVG per command, GAVG per command, and Q average per command. So let me recap. Q average is Q depth. GAVG is the you know, adding the kernel and the physical, which is the storage, which is KAVG and DAVG.
You can see here, like you have DAVG, that's 0.34 and KAVG is 0.02.
Yes.
The total of GAVG, if you total it, that's 0.434.
Yes, somewhere around that. So you can see that the value of GAVG per command would change based on the DAVG per command and KAVG per command. If you add it now, it's coming to the 36, which is pretty precise. So guys, when you get the performance issue, when someone complains you about, or as an administrator, you need to check if there are any performance issues going on in your network. Even the you know, the local drives or the HBAs or the disk attached through the fiber channel, through iSCSI, whatever. So you need to run this, and this is at the disk level. So if I'm going to press U, it's going to show me the HBAs. So since it is my test environment, I'm seeing 4 HBAs right here. And I tell you, this is something, you know, which is very beneficial for you. I want to tell you an incident where I resolved that issue, and I'm going to tell you right here on this Cloud Pathshala channel. The issue was few of the VMs were running very slow, like hell slow. So as an administrator, I was involved, and I was supposed to check, you know, why it is slow. The first thing I did was to check the real time. ESXTOP I ran, and I found out that DAVG command were going high. It was really going high. So as the resolutions, long story in short, as a resolution, what I did, I found that one of the LUNs, example this LUN here, it was running the major servers which were generating a lot of IOs, a lot of read and writes. It had SQL servers, Exchange servers, 80 all together in one volume. So how did I fix it? I migrated those to other LUNs, and we were able to fix it. So guys, those kind of things you can do while running the ESXTOP. So guys, that's it in this session. I hope you found this session informative. If you liked it, if you liked our efforts, give us a thumbs up just below the video. Do subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the bell, which is going to keep you updated whenever we put any of the videos.